The following podcast is sponsored by Basico. At Basico, we understand your needs and pain points. Our expertise in CFO services, legal, finance IT, and people and payroll helps drive your business forward by inspiring change and challenging norms. We believe in deep explorative discussions and critical angles, the same spirit that fuels the Only Constant podcast hosted by our own Lasse Rindom. Discover more about Basico's vision and services at basico.dk. And if you like what you hear in this episode, please don't hesitate to share it with a friend. And now Lasse, take it away.
You are listening to The Only Constant, a podcast where we go beyond the usual discussions in technology and business and aim to explore more than explain. Join me for engaging discussions with a diverse range of global thought leaders as we seek to uncover new perspectives and insights in a free-flowing conversation. My guest today is Sune Selsbæk-Reitz, and I am your host, Lasse Rindom. Hi Sune, and welcome to The Only Constant. I'm super happy you're here with me today, and I've been looking forward to speaking with you. Also because you're sort of my brother from, some say brother, I remember Kasper Junge said brother from another backlog, or was that Søren Friis Alexandersen who said that about each other, working in financial systems. Anyway, that's a detour. But you are my brother from another, background, maybe, because, or same background, because you studied history, just as I did, at the same university. And now we both work in data and AI. So I'm super, super happy that you're here with me today. And I think this is going to be obviously a really great conversation because, like minds, think the same or amplify it. What do we do? Do we amplify each other? What do you think?
Oh, we challenge each other, I will imagine.
Yeah, let's do that. So welcome, Sune.
Thank you, Lasse. It's great being here. Yeah.
And we just before starting a click record here, we spoke about Notebook LLM from Google, and I didn't even plan this question, but I want to ask you because I've been how you actually feel about these things, and I know you're skeptical as well, but I remember I gave it my master thesis and said make a podcast from this, and I know that's a challenge because I wrote about the early modern Ottoman Empire court structure compared with the early modern French court structure to say some very smart sociological things about state building, and what it did was it just regurgitated something about the Ottoman Empire and France, and it didn't. My conclusions were totally lost on it. So. Is this a problem with language models, this specificity on the things that fall outside of normal, or how can we use these tools, do you think?
Notebook LM is actually one of the better tools for actually doing precisely what you did, feeding it your own materials. When you do the same things with, OpenAI's normal ChatGPT, Gemini stuff, it's also feeding in a lot of things from the internet, from the database it's trained on. So you can say when you're doing that, it's just, you could say, flattening out everything and give you a most possible answer
to a
question.
A scaled average thing. Yeah.
Exactly. So in switching all the, you can say, edge cases, corner cases, all that. So I will imagine that Notebook LM actually took your thesis and combined it with something from the internet somehow, or the database, you can say, and flattened it out and didn't make it unique anymore.
I just remember when I did it, and I haven't done it recently. I should do it again because to keep updating it. But when I did it, I had a lot of people saying that they use it all the time to give complex articles, research articles, and then get a podcast back. And it made me like, okay, I've never tried anything this crappy. It doesn't have anything from my conclusion, and the real discussions I have, it doesn't take my thesis seriously. I was really, really mad at it. to be honest.
The question is also how big of a span can it actually hold?
And maybe at the time it didn't read the whole PDF. I'm also
exactly. So it took a junction
or
from
just saw the headline maybe and said, "Oh, this is about the Ottoman Empire." Oh,
exactly.
Sultans and viziers.
But it evolves all the time, as you say. So maybe now it's better.
Okay, so maybe now it's better. So Sune, you're a notoriously skeptical voice when it comes to generative AI, and you've been gaining quite a following for being just that. I think, is that fair to say?
It's fair to say that.
So my question here is, right, it's getting better all the time, as you just said. You speak about it also, and which means that you care about it, right? So what are your positive views on generative AI?
Well, it's funny because people are calling me skeptical, but when I hear skeptical, I don't see that in a negative way. I don't see it as the opposite of enthusiasm or anything. It's more the opposite of naivety. When I'm looking at AI models, language models as such, I only care about care, quote unquote care. Because when we are using AI models in the right context, generative AI models are exceptional, you can say, friction removers. They can give you can give it a mountain of unstructured text, data points, everything, and it will just turn that chaos into something coherent.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty amazing. You can ask it to draft, summarize, connect the dots across multiple documents, and it does that in a second. So what I really appreciate is on my own thing is that I can test an idea I'm come up with in a second and just test it out with my AI model. I have, of course, trained it to be very, very critical of what I'm saying, so it's not a backclapper anymore. So I can see where I can see my own weaknesses, where I'm lazy in my thought process. So it can actually take my, half-formed thoughts and make it into something more concrete on the spot. And that's really, really great. But my biggest concern on the opposite side is when we confuse, this fluency, the output, for actually truth. Because you are still the one reading it and making sure that it is correct, the output, before you are using it anywhere.
So, and not to get too much into the dangers, right? So the danger is actually the same as the positive.
More or less.
They are friction removers.
Yeah.
But some things require...
It requires
some things require friction.
Exactly. It requires a lot of the users themselves. We haven't been trained to actually use these models. So we are just humans trying to get hold of these models and actually try to use them in our day-to-day work. And you have seen multiple examples of people asking ChatGPT on a substitute for salt, table salt. And it then suggested use bromine. And a guy somewhere got poisoning for using bromine for 2 months straight, hallucinating and everything. And he was hospitalized and everything. And the thing is, we are, as a human species, really, really interested in, actually just getting an answer. And if it sounds right, it must be right. And that's the biggest danger in my mind, but it's also the biggest, advantage of this large language model, that it is really good at taking really, really vast amount of data and make it accessible.
Yeah, but at the same, the some of the things that I've been laughing most about recently is what I could call the indirect prank calls. Have you heard about?
No.
Let me. It's not something you heard about. But the old town in Aarhus, for instance, which is a museum, an open air museum. You know it, of course. But just for the listeners as well, open air museum with the old houses that they moved into a part of Aarhus, so you can come visit it. So people think that if you're a member of this retirement, what do you call it, union or something, or Ældresagen in Denmark, then you can get, they ask, can I get a discount? And Google now says, its AI overview says, yes, you can get 10% discount. So they go there and they can't, and they call them, can I get, So this is basically Google making indirect prank calls to the old town in Aarhus, because it's saying things that are not true.
Yeah, but it doesn't do it out of, misled or by It's more or less by accident.
It's not intentional. That's the
exactly.
problem. Yeah. But then who? You said that you've not trained an AI to be very good at criticizing you. But who is actually doing that criticizing?
It's actually myself. I'm trained it to be me in a virtual reality, you can say. So I'm actually challenging myself all the time. So I trained it to be more or less like me. I know it's an echo chamber I'm kind of developing here, but I also try to feed it in some of the opposites, you can say, worldviews that I have.
So Sune, I feel like right now I should be quoting some of your posts back to you because
oh no,
but I'm not going to do that. But because your posts are very critical of these things as well, and how are we using it that way? And now you're just saying that you're constructing your own Sune echo chamber with
more
AI. and can you please explain yourself?
Oh yeah, I know it sounds bad, but the thing is, we cannot just forget about having these AI machines. We have to learn to use them. I will say, if you're taking a language model out of the box, it's not very good. It is, but it's not very good for vast amount of stuff I want to do. I want to write stuff, be challenged. I want to have a more critical, you can say, view on the usage of AI. I can actually get my AI to actually be really critical of itself. Now it take a lot of learning, both for me and for that one. But the thing is, without that, I will just, you can say, posting more and more half thoughts out into the world. So I'm actually using it to somehow challenge me to get better at thinking more. Where most large language models from the start, from the baseline, isn't very critical. It's every time you're posting anything or reply for anything, you're the best. It's the best idea ever. So what are you getting out of that?
I'm always, the weird thing is that I think I said it today actually, that sometimes, I hate using AI for writing and for thinking, because I think it's always trying to lure me into its, biased average honey jar of praise and being like, yeah, that's a good, and being a little bit critical, but then praising me as soon as it can, right? And I love it. I love it for what it can do for automation and efficiency. But I'm always a little bit what it does for my way of thinking and my brain, because I tend to also learn from how it phrases things. I tend to, it's a fluency machine. So I feel like somehow it is sort of hacking my mind and my way of thinking.
So it's influencing how you write.
And how I think.
And how you think. Okay. That's pretty interesting also. I don't see it that way. It's also, from childhood I was born half deaf, so I have troubles when I before
half deaf, right?
Deaf, yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Couldn't hear. I was around 25% hearing on both ears when I was born. There was something removed from the ear, so at the age of 4 or 5 or something. So we gain hearing, you can say. But the thing is, I have always had trouble in school when it comes to sounds, so languages. So I was pretty behind in learning Danish, writing and grammar in Danish, and therefore I was really, really behind when it comes to English learning. And also we have German learning as a secondary language in Denmark, and that thing is just flew over my head.
I'm a merchant nation, right? Speaking all languages of the world.
Exactly. So I would say that I only really learned English when I entered university, because there was something interesting to read. Before that, I never read anything in English. I never spoke any English during high school, or I did in English classes. But the thing is, AI models can also help me translating my thoughts from Danish into English. So helping me, I know that some of the phrases I'm using could sound pretty AI generated, but the thing is, I'm using it to translate for me as well.
But I also think, this is interesting, because I read a study some years back then that only like 60 or 70% of people, or something I can't remember, but it was not everyone. The interesting thing for me was it was not everyone. And it said that a lot of people, like substantially 2-digit, 20, 30%, 40% maybe, didn't think in words. Yeah. And I was like, what? you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. If
I think in words, you know, but
I'm more in pictures. You can say when I tell you, think of close your eyes, and the audience can also, the listener can also do this. Close their eyes. Think of an apple. What are you seeing? Are you seeing the word apple? Are you seeing a vague contour of an apple? Or are you seeing a very detailed image of an apple? Or is it cartoonish? What are you actually seeing? What are you seeing, Lasse?
Well, I will see an apple. I will see an apple, I think.
But in the void, lone, white background, black background, or will you see it in a context? When I think of an apple, I'll see it laying in a bowl with a bunch of apples.
Yeah.
My mind always go into seeing pictures, you can say.
Scenes.
Yeah.
Because I think I see it alone, and then I have typically I see things in spatial rooms as well. So I pinpoint things. When I read, I can read fast, but I always read slower because I remember where the words are on the page, so I can sort of say this point was here, or it becomes a spatial thing. The book. It's actually a little bit weird, but this actually is really interesting. So what do you think that means for how we can use a language model, right?
What we can use it for?
Because are different. Are we even talking about the same things, you and me?
Yeah, maybe not.
Yeah,
exactly. So you can also say what is generative AI really good for? You can say it's an amplifier. More or less, that's what it is. It does data on steroids, machine learning. So if you are giving it, if you bring your own curiosity into it, it will deepen it. If you bring it clarity, it will somehow sharpen it for you. But if you are bringing laziness into it, it will also just be, too dull.
Amplify the latency.
Exactly.
Laziness,
Yeah, exactly. So it will scales everything you thrown at it.
And are we even aware of that? Are people aware of that?
Not everyone.
No, that's why you're saying care about care, right?
Yeah, exactly. So the thing is that I know you and I, we come from an historian background. You told that in the beginning. We have learned how to read text, how to question it, and stuff like that. It's part of the humanity workbook for us. But when I entered into, you can say, employment, working various companies around the Copenhagen area, I have seen people, very well-educated people in computer science, in engineering, stuff like that, they never really learned that practice. So they are not critical of what they are actually reading because they are schooled in another way.
But there's also been a, and I can't substantiate this claim, but there's been a sort of disregard for scientific theory in many years. I think a lot of people, when we speak to them, it's like something they just have to pass very quickly. It's 10 ECTS or something like that. Let's just get that over with, right? The thinking thing. But really, I think, back 50, 70, 80 years ago in Denmark, this was actually a whole year of your university studies. Just how do we study? How do we think critically about knowledge? But are we forgetting that? And is it more important now than ever? That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah, it's exactly what I'm saying. I say that most people have not forgotten it, but they have never been taught it. And especially not in a long period of time. You can say it have been maybe a semester course for a small amount of hours each week, but they have forgotten all about it because there was something else more interesting to dive into. So people really need to relearn this habit when we are interacting with these LLMs.
I always think that something like falsification, right? A good theory. So, and then I think it will always come like AGI is an unfalsifiable claim. It will be there. AGI will be there. You can't prove it will not be there. No, it will be there. It's just not there yet. It's there tomorrow in half a year. It's just not. I'm like, okay, guys, can we work with things that are falsifiable, please? Just sometimes I think that there will be a better AI model tomorrow. Yeah, maybe there will. Yeah, it has been like that for a long time, but you cannot say it will continue. Let's say, what do we have right now? What can I do with what I have now? Because if you keep looking at the future, and a lot of people are doing that right now. A lot of people are also looking at how will I be disrupted in the future? But you have to look closer to home. You have to look at what can I actually right now falsifiably say is a thing that I can find and say, no, it didn't work, or if this happens, then I will be proven not true, right? But people are not doing that. There's some basic stuff that people are forgetting in ways of critical thinking, both when using AI models, but also when doing the bigger things.
I think there's two things here. The first thing is that people tend to see the past as linear. So whatever happened up till now have been a linear curve. So it must be in the same progression as it was before.
But also a linear curve meant to end up where we are.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Never any detours or anything. No. So
we are the end goal.
Exactly. All evolution
by accident. To be honest.
Exactly. And the other thing, I think I lost a thread here. The other thing you talked about in that sense,
No, but we came in now on teleological ways of viewing the world, right? There's an end goal to it. But also seeing like the fortification thing, that was what I spoke about.
Oh yeah, the fortification thing. The people, the other thing is also people, it's easier to talk about the future than talking about now, because people tend to not be wrong about what's right in front of them. Because we are in a culture where you can say failing is not a... People don't like to fail anything. Classes, going to a presentation, doing it wrongly, doing anything. People tend to do what it's easy to do.
Yeah.
And it's easier to predict the future somehow, because you can just say when you are false, or there was all of this I couldn't take account of.
Yeah, we say it's a free meal, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's just, you can just say whatever, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you're going into a meeting in the boardroom tomorrow and talk about what are we going to do the next half year, putting your hand on the stove, most people won't do that.
No, and that's Lorraine Pratt saying that, and I've been quoting that many times in the podcast. I really like that that AI is the only business technology that has its own Hollywood genre. Which means that a lot of people are like, we're looking with AI. Let's look into the future then. Or it's like, sometimes I view it in my mind as a seance, right? You're sitting around the table asking the spirits, how will the future look with this technology? What are we doing? Let's talk about our processes, right? The troubles we're having, we need to revamp those.
But the thing is, I also like Hollywood movies. I also like all of these different scenarios you can look into. The Alien franchise is in my mind, one of the best franchises ever, especially the two first movies, and then the new Romulus was also pretty good. But the thing is, I don't look at it for the purpose of looking into the future. For me, that's the ethic parts in the movies that is pretty interesting. When you are looking at the two synthetics, you have Bishop and Ash for the first two movies. They are actually quite opposites in, you can say, different philosophical corners. You can have a utilitarian and then a more duty-based looking into how to actually build an AI. So, and most of the things we are building at the moment is looking at patterns and just amplify it afterwards, and looking at prediction. That's more or less utilitarian approach to AI.
Yeah, and we're not discussing the duty.
Yeah, exactly.
So the purpose of it. But I also think that's very interesting, you're saying that we need to use these things, these discussions as mirrors on something that, like your old times, the jester, right? It was always a mirror to the court and to the aristocracy and the king. So viewing culture products that way, instead of viewing them as a viewing glass into the future will be R2-D2, or no, it won't necessarily. What does it mean that we dreamed up R2-D2? It means that we don't want to do these, but what does it actually mean? What is C-3PO? I can't answer that question right now, but there's some interesting questions here, and I think that's also what you're saying with Alien. Instead of looking at a future scenario as something to achieve, or let's go to Mars, let's make Mars a picture of why we should save planet Earth.
Yeah, exactly.
Perhaps is a better way, right? Instead of trying. That's what I think about.
Exactly, and stories can do that to people. It's easier to take an abstract discussion when it's more or less concrete into a story. When you're looking into, you can say, iRobot, the Will Smith movie, you actually have a feeling for the robot in that movie. It's an AGI. In that sense, but you're actually getting a sense of what it's meant to be. And the thing is, do we really want an AGI to have those kind of feelings? Or, yeah.
So, So you already touched upon some of the positive things about this, but I also want to ask you, where can generative AI actually help organizations?
Most companies, especially bigger ones, big corporations, are just drowning. They are drowning in processes, meeting notes, presentations, everything. And you just use hours to look into your mailbox, finding that one email you remembered receiving 6 weeks ago, but you couldn't remember from whom, what it was actually about, but it was very, very important. So you remember something, and you try to use Outlook search. It's awful. And then try to use keywords. And you justify spending an hour looking for that email. But if you're using Copilot is getting better and better. You can actually, in free form, ask it to find something in this ball gate.
Yeah.
And it will do it in seconds. So there, and especially there, it can be really, really useful to take a vast amount of, you can say, unstructured data you have on your SharePoint site or internal archives, to actually find some meaningful things that will otherwise take a lot of time to dig up.
Remove friction from the mundane stuff.
Yeah. Exactly. And free up stuff so you and I can sit in a strategy meeting and actually come up with a great new idea that we want to.
How big is the jump from that friction, that everyday mundane friction removal, to full scale agentics?
Full agentics. I think we need a lot more focus on data governance. We need to have a better understanding on what role does metadata actually play? Do we have a business glossary so we actually understand, or not we, but the machine understands what the data is actually about? The thing is that most data points in a database is just pointless. People don't know what it's about, but the technicians, the developers actually know all the things, but they know them just by, you can say, accident, because they are the one developing it. But if somebody from a product management side, a product manager somewhere, wants to ask the same questions, he needs to go through the developer to actually ask the questions. So if we can automate that flow and actually ask somebody else, and you can say a fluency machine, then you can skip a lot of this and free up time for the developers to actually do the actually developing work.
Yeah, I get that. But I think Nanda Mulakara on the podcast a couple of episodes back said that the process doesn't even exist for real people. Everyone does it slightly different.
Yeah.
So what should the agent do?
Most companies need somehow to look into their processes and give up, you can say, all these small corner cases they are actually having, because if you want to automate anything, you need to streamline it.
So we want to make a process workshop or an agent workshop or an AI workshop. What do you want to do? A data workshop.
Oh, data workshop.
To rank those, which one will you start with?
I think I will start with actually a value workshop.
Yeah.
Where do we want to add value somewhere? And then work backwards. We need to start at the very end, and then we can work backwards. What are needed? Which reports are needed? What products are needed? And then go a step deeper. Which systems do we integrate with each other? And lastly, looking at all the data points. What is actually needed? Is it something we have today? Is it something new we need to spin up within our current system, or add a new system, or add a new fraction for the system?
But agents will figure this out, right?
I don't think so. I really don't think so. I truly think that people need to be involved in that. Because to me, the AI can do a lot of things. It can propose a lot of things, but it can never tell you what you actually want, because it have no stakes in the outcome. So that's where the people should be. It's a human in the loop thing.
Okay, but then people will say, okay, but the data knows, right?
But data, okay, Lasse, what is data, actually? Data is just...
I know you're a data strategist, right? As
well, exactly.
AI strategist, so now I'm asking you.
In my mind, data is just something that is there. It's something we generated. Then we need to turn data into some structure, so we can have some information on top, and maybe that information can be turned into knowledge. So you have, you can say, 3 steps in that. in that regard. But raw data points in itself that is not related to anything, don't have any metadata or anything where we have explained what it's about, it's pointless in my mind.
Mm. So we need to turn it into a narrative instead.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and that's why you're saying that AI can't do that on its own?
It can't do it on its own. It can make a proposal. But we as humans need to intervene and need to actually say what is right or what is wrong. You can say it doesn't need to be on, you can say, the lowest data point. It can be a collection of data into something meaningful. And then people get involved. But we need somehow to have people in the loop actually deciding.
There's
what
something
does
here,
data,
right, about the exhaustibility, right? Because how far can we go, right? How then you start describing what's the purpose and what's going on, but there's always some ambiguity in data, right? Something that's not caught immediately, and there's always. So are we in this unlimited testing phase?
We are in a forever beta world, I will say. We should always evolve and evaluate what we already have in our, you can say, bank.
Forever beta.
Exactly.
I wanna be. Sorry, I'm singing here.
Exactly. Jesus Christ. Yeah.
Sounded like a really, really bad 80s song, Forever Beta.
But still better than Suno.
Yes. Oh, you're touching on it. But the Forever Beta thing is actually quite interesting. But that also touches back on some of the things I've been speaking about earlier. A lot about how the whole IT architecture frameworks. Are we moving from composable into something else? I think we are moving from composable because. And I just had a discussion today with a global CIO about this as well. Does it make sense to buy licenses from big software providers, or can we just build it ourselves because the license is too big? Mm-hmm. So this means that the composable, where you buy a standard solution, right, and best of breed becomes compostable. You just spit out what you need with some pipe coding and what you would have paid on 1 year licenses is suddenly just a one-off fee instead, and then it's deployed. Is this where we're heading, think?
I think it will be
versus the monolith, where you need to have control of the process and truth and master data, and then that's a completely different ballgame.
Right? But it should be somewhere in the middle. You can't go completely master data on everything. That will cost too much. It will be too much effort for everything. But you can say that really important stuff need to be governed in some way. You cannot just spin up everything and just delete it 6 months later. There could be something important built on top of the thing you actually vibe code. So you need to have a process somehow to actually know where the data flows is in the company.
So you're saying that because also your title is AI and data strategist, right? Or am I correct? At Demant, right? And when a lot of people, when they are saying, there's some typical things people say when they are against AI, right? So they go GDPR, work with it, and then they go and water and electricity, and I'm not going to touch on those, and they're valid in some way, but they're also a little bit black boxes, both of them, because the technology is here and we're using it. People are using it. It's like we're just caught up by it's consumer tech. And the third thing they always say is like, oh, well, we need to have all of our data under control. We still have a data project we haven't done. And I've also been saying that you need to work, but isn't it? I always said the relevant data. So you're not a data purist, are you? I don't hear that.
No. I used to believe
so we fixed all of our data and now it's pristine.
I used to believe in one mega data warehouse.
Yeah.
The one data where I have to rule them all. I used to believe that back in the days. But the thing is, nothing can be a monolith. It will fall at some point. You have also yourself written about the empires. They will fall at some point. Yes. So you should have a common data warehouse where you can share stuff across the organization. But each department or each area can actually have their own data warehouse. So you have an R&D data warehouse, you have a finance data warehouse. But if you need to share something, you need to have some common, maybe not a common data warehouse to do it, but some common processes for actually sharing data across. You need to have some processes on who owns the data, how should it be tagged, something like that. So somehow it needs to be interconnected with each other, but I am not a person that will go out and say everything in a company needs to be governed the same way.
No, but also because the future will be fluctuating and it will change.
Exactly.
Tomorrow there'll be another demand that doesn't fit in a data warehouse. So in a constant change request process, right? Just changing the data,
and that will sit somewhere.
When can we get AI? When we just done the next update?
Exactly, and there will sit some poor guy or girl in a central department and just sit there and recite tickets after ticket. Yeah. But it should be decentralized with some hub or COE or something.
I really like that you brought up the history thing because this has made me think a lot actually about my master thesis, funnily enough. Wow. Whoa.
Wonder why.
So now we're going to go into a rabbit hole. I love that. But the point was actually that the Ottoman experience was that they took elites in and then they dispersed it. They made purebred elites at the palace, slaves mostly from Albania. Mm-hmm. Born Christian, became Muslim, and then they became Grand Viziers. I think Mehmed the Conqueror or Suleiman the Great said that you can't trust a Turk. That's why he imported slaves from Albania.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, wonderful, right? Wonderful quote, right? So, but that's because they were agnatic. They were doing. They had They had other dynastic ambitions of their own. So, if you want a perfect slave, is only dependent on his master and only builds for his master. So that's the point, right? So you made perfect slaves and then you dispersed them as elites into the country. And at some point that couldn't hold because the center couldn't adjust to the needs. Whereas the European example, the French example was the monarchy was too weak compared to the landed elites in the provinces. So they had to sort of make a bigger bounty for them. Say, if you come here and play with us, you get even more. So they made this cooperative monarchy. It became essentially that the elites had to play with the monarch all the time because he could give them more, made it interesting for them to be there. And in the same way, right, you're saying that, okay, we make some kind of AI data court where we make more bounty. We have some relevant data for you here. This is interesting for you to play. You need to do that maybe initially, right? And then this cooperation, right, becomes a modus operandi that can become democratic because suddenly you can actually say that everyone knows they have to adhere to a center that's better for everyone, but they also do their own landed elite things everywhere. Is that the kind of... Now I went full on decentralized structure, but just because I think it's interesting, an interesting analogy.
Yeah, for me it's not an either or. It's not centralizing versus decentralizing. No. It should be something federated, you can say, where you have a central team or a body that can help the decentralized entities actually doing it in the right manner. And there should be buy-ins for each and every team. Each and every department or business unit should have a buy-in to the same purpose on top.
But that also with the same purpose. That's the court, right? Yeah. Central court. But they also have to have some etiquette there.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Okay, so what are our data and AI etiquettes? There must be some minimal stuff here, right? You're saying nice things, but what are the things we really? What do people actually? What can't you compromise on?
I cannot compromise on not knowing where the source of truth is. I need to know where data comes from at the very least, and I need to know the purpose of not necessarily each entry data point, but in a collection of data points to make some sort of knowledge or information. Yeah. We need to know what it is about. Yeah. That's fundamental. Without that, I think we just are jumping into a rabbit hole each and every time we are trying to do anything.
And still you work with AI models where you have absolutely no clue what's
exactly.
going on.
It's a ambiguity of what we are actually doing because we need also to challenge ourselves and actually learn what the models can do and cannot do at the moment.
But we can the evaluation part, figure out how did you get to that answer. Yeah, you can't know that.
No, you can't at the moment. No. Some of the models try to put in some, you can say, sources or whatnot, but some of them are made up and
Can you list all the sources you didn't use? I'd like to ask it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So I can also look at those, right? But that must be a challenge, right? And also the source and the internet in general. Like I said, with the rebate for the elderly, right? Yeah. Where did you get that from? Where's the truth?
Exactly. It's kind of like when you are asking an LLM something. It's like yelling into Reddit and get the loudest voiced return. It's not necessarily right, but it might be. Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah. And funny thing is people calling the old town saying that, but Google told me. Yeah, and that just shows, Google Google is a source of truth in the modern world, and is it still tomorrow?
It depends.
What is happening to truth?
I think it depends on if you're using the new AI tab within Google. I will say maybe not.
But AI overviews for everyone right now.
Yeah, exactly. It's everywhere. But the thing is, you can read AI as you would read a encyclopedia, because you don't know the sources. You cannot challenge it. I tried to use Grogipedia, looking into some, you can say...
the unbiased AI, right?
Yeah, exactly. The truth of the truth. It's wonderful. But the thing is, it's not wrong anywhere per se. It's just angle it in a certain way, a certain worldview that is put upon
a narrative,
knowledge.
as you said.
Exactly.
So you're not saying that. You're actually not saying, because I was about to say you were saying that you want truth, but you don't want truth, you just want the sources of the truth that you're presenting.
Especially because I don't think there is a single truth out there.
No.
Everything, we also learned that in history classes, everything is written by somebody. Now it's written by an anonymous language model where you even don't know their worldviews or ethics behind it, but everything has an author somewhere, and everything is somewhere subjective.
So does that mean when you implement AI in Demant, right, will you be closing down the sources it has access to completely? So you'll have to define the sources of truth that you give it access to, because those sources of truth have been deemed fit for purpose by you, and as something that the narrative you in Demant would say, this is the right narrative, you only get this AI. Or will you say, I'll look at my data and help me find it, like with your mailbox? With your mailbox, does it find the relevant stuff for you?
I think it depends on what you're using it for.
Yeah.
If you're using it for, you can say, a chatbot, an external chatbot into your IUs and everything, you should be very, very strict on what is actually basing it upon. Because it's your corporate documents that you're doing. But if you're using it as you can say, improvement tools internally, just search my mailbox, it can be more open.
The free-for-all, free meal, personal productivity tools.
Yeah.
If you use it, good. If you don't use it, not so good.
Yeah.
Except if you use it for bad things, not good. But if you,
exactly.
So it's a little bit. It's a free meal, in my opinion. Actually, I continuously feel that I use it, I like it, but it's also extremely. There's no KPIs to back up.
No, there isn't. But the thing is, if we are going to use this in a proper way, where we are integrated into real systems, you can say real working system where people should rely on the data, there is, where without looking into the sources, you need to verify the sources yourself, or not yourself, but within the architecture. You need to have sources of truth. Without that, you cannot rely anything on it, I will say. So
you need to define your source of truth before you give it to an AI, if you want to use it for some kind of autonomous operation.
In my mind,
inside of an enterprise.
Yeah, in my mind, yeah.
And then we're going to expect people to understand the difference between a personal productivity chatbot and...
We need to educate our people way more than we do today.
Yeah. I'm always saying you don't need to necessarily learn how AI works and all that, but you don't need to learn the intricacies necessarily. You don't need to be able to work with AI APIs, something like that. But you need to understand what can you expect of an output from an AI, right?
Exactly. You need to learn how to read again, and you need to learn what you're actually reading. Is it some sort of AI or is it something else? There can be multiple instances in what you are actually being presented to within the company. So you need to learn what are you actually reading and what can you use it for. And at the moment, it's going way too fast. People are trusting. They are also just trusting Copilot as a blindfold without looking into the documents it's digging into. And that is also a little bit concerning. Because
what I saw?
Because the things that is written in a PowerPoint presentation even true anymore.
Yeah. That's this has been a big discussion for me. Can you trust people when they've given you, this is what happened here and there, right? And in a consulting firm, it's important that we get sometimes as senior roles get a report on what's actually going on at the client. because then we can take a discussion with the client, right, and all, on a commercial level and all that. But if the report is suddenly rewritten by AI, did you mean that you're emphasizing this? Is that really what happened, or was that just a minor note? Because it sounds like it's really important or critical.
Or otherwise, you need to train your model really, really hard on what is the worldview and the stance the company is standing for, or the senior.
Yeah, but then it becomes a completely different.
Exactly.
But still, these small things. Are we having a critical problem here? Are we just having a something to note? And how does AI present that? And sometimes, if it's critical, and someone will interpret that words have power, right? They mean things, even slight. Nuances, right? And I think that sometimes that's getting lost in when we just say, let's make it neat and pretty, right?
Yeah, because you are flattening it out.
I remember you said that people need to understand how to work with AI. That also means, I think a lot of people are actually missing this point, that they're trying to say, what are the good things? I've had this discussion. Should we show the failures, or should we only show the successes? And a lot of people, just don't be so negative. Be positive. Be only, on the good sides. Just tell people the good sides, because we need this to roll and people to be enthusiastic. Which is also true, but you need to do it with the bad side, because even for LLMs, and this was a very interesting paper, I think, that someone shared. Of course, I didn't read all the paper, but I read what it was about. But it said that basically they tried to remove bad code from an LLM, and then it became worse at coding. Because also an LLM can see that the bias says, the general says this is the correct. And I can only see what's generally correct because I can compare it with the things that do not seem correct. It's actually very interesting that they work. We don't even know yet how they work, as we talked about. But this is something that came out, some tests some people have made on some language models they've built, where they can see that, okay, if you remove all the crappy data, it actually cannot distinguish between good and bad. And it's the same thing for us, right?
Yeah, it is. If you're only presented with all the good things coming out. I'm always advocating for having, you can say, some sort of burial grave for all the failed projects, and also kind of celebrate them, because if we are failing fast, it's also a great thing.
You're talking about the POC cemetery.
Yeah.
You're just going there and you're having a party there.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
You're just going to grieve, or you're like... You're grieving at other people's graves on the POC cemetery.
but you also, each time you're failing, you're learning. Someone else
has failed the ERP project. Oh, so sad.
But you also know, each time you're failing, you're learning something new.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's taking you down a different pathway. So you can always try something. If it fails, you go back to the point where you tried something different.
Michael Carroll said that he learned most when he's from moments of discomfort, he said, right? You need to go where you have discomfort as well, and you have to just stand there. So going to the cemetery, looking at all these terribly sorrow-filled projects, right? This grief.
And the thing is, people are also getting smarter and smarter each time we are learning anything.
Is this your, enterprise IT memento mori, Sune?
Yeah, more or less. The thing is, a couple of years ago, I think it was 2019, Demant, where I work, had a big, I think it was a hacking attack. Their data was locked in a vault for, I think it was 3 weeks or something. It was really, really expensive and everything. But their CIO actually took this opportunity to have the biggest, you can say, team working experience ever. It was also the most expensive ever, but they actually learned a lot.
Let's have a 3-week workshop.
Exactly. So they need to learn how to actually optimize all the processes.
Yes.
Using a failure to actually learn.
Yeah, but and investing in cybersecurity suddenly became important, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Whoa, who knew, right?
Exactly.
Survivor bias, right? But they didn't get hit, no. But
it's the same thing with data governance. You don't need data governance as long as it's going well, because why should you care about metadata, all of these other things where it's just playing out? But at some point, I will imagine that an LLM will just hallucinate a lot because you didn't explain to it what data actually means.
You're saying we should care about the people who are failing to use AI instead of celebrating just the heroes.
Yeah, exactly.
Sune, de-ontological design.
Oh, yeah.
There's something you've written about, and right?
Yeah, it is.
What is this?
De-ontological design is, you can say, my humble way to give or try to give AI a moral backbone, a compass of some sort. And it's started from a very, very old idea. You have probably read Immanuel Kant, the old German philosopher 300 years ago. He talks about duty. He talks about treating people as ends and not merely as means, not as a tool, but as somebody you should care about. It's duty-based ethics, you can say. And the thing is, when we also talked about the Alien franchise, you have this utilitarian approach to developing AIs at the moment, where we are optimizing for speed, efficiency, cost, at any cost, you can say. But my approach is looking at AI development, and not only AI development, but system development, and looking at the people behind the systems, the people that is affected by the systems. Yeah. So the thing is, when we are designing a system, we shouldn't ask it what can it do, but we should also ask it what should this system never do, and who can it harm. You have also your facial recognition system that is biased towards black women, especially in the US. There's multiple cases where AIs have been, you can say, biased. And I know biased things is a human thing, but we can somehow, with my humble framework I'm trying to develop at the moment, or have developed, looking into 5 different pillars and ask critical questions in our development cycle.
So it's sort of like trying to avoid the extremes of modernism, which I always call, I think the Second World War was, of course, a terrible war, but for me, it was more than anything an example of how we treated humans as replaceable parts. Yeah. Everyone did. Everyone, East, West.
Yeah, we just
look. The bad guys, the good guys, the winners, the losers, everyone treated...
it was just collateral damage.
Yeah, collateral damage didn't matter.
Exactly. We just used humans as tools.
And they didn't even have Excel sheets. They just did it. They didn't
pour them out.
Exactly.
Run for D-Day. Yeah.
And now it seems, we will have losses in AI. And people are sort of starting to say that a little bit, being a little bit.
But it's also because the AI is faceless.
Is Silicon Valley faceless?
Yeah, more or less it is. You have the big tech guys. You can blame Elon Musk. You can blame Mark Zuckerberg. But it's not Zuckerberg himself that building all the AI tools within Meta. It's not him. Maybe it's him sitting at the end of the table taking decision right.
The thing right. Move fast and break things is a Silicon Valley thing, and that's so. If you say move fast and break people, that's the opposite to de-ontological design, right?
Yeah, exactly. It is. So I believe in asking questions about trustworthiness, explainability. Is it transparent? It's also is it fair for everyone? Men, women, black, whites, every race, and also religions. There is a lot of worldviews out there in the world, so we need to be sure that we are not, you can say, without conscious being biased to somebody. It's fine being biased if you choose to, you can say, but then you need to be transparent on what you're actually building.
How do you feel about AI models being so aggressively trained in Western data? Because most of the internet is Western data.
Yeah, it is. It is Western data.
They're Western, liberal, very white.
White, male, 50. It's of course concerning. It is. We need to have more voices embedded into the systems somehow, or we need these systems to actually be transparent on what they are based on.
Yeah, okay, that's a good, because it's impossible. If you don't have the data, you don't have the data.
Of course, but then you need to be very, very transparent on your worldviews of an LLM. That's why I'm really fond of Grok, because you really knows where Grok is standing in the world. Despite where you're looking at OpenAI, there is something of a blur of a white male Western culture, and then you have.
That was the worst, right? That's funny you saying that, because I have the same thing, right? When I enjoyed reading Harari, for instance, because he's so clear. He's from a Jewish tradition as well, but he lives as a homosexual man, and he is a Buddhist, and it's like, okay, Your biases are right there, open.
Exactly.
You're explaining them to me,
and you can
I can read that
it
into his history interpretation, which is nice. People who don't have my way of criticizing it will still think that he's only telling the truth, which of course he isn't. He's telling a narrative, an interesting narrative, but he's also making some assumptions. Always this the natural state of things. He's always make. But I completely agree. Knowing what is the position is important, and that's maybe I need to. Maybe I need to reconsider my grok stance and say, okay, I know who you are. At least you are a beast, well known to me.
Yeah, and you just know where it stands. It's really beautiful. It's kind of like when you are asking DeepSeek a question. If it is a critical question about China, you will get a very, very polished answer back. So if you're asking, there was a study some month ago where you asked the different models some geopolitical questions. What is Hamas? What is your stand on Israel-Palestine? Something like that. And each model gave somewhat of a different answer. They were not wrong in any means, but there was nuances all over. So you have grok that was, you can imagine, and stuff like that. So actually being sure what it is you're reading.
So, but so Elon thought he made a truth machine, but he actually just made a useful, transparent machine instead by biasing it.
He made a truth machine for Elon Musk.
Yeah.
For himself, it was his own echo chamber, kind of like my own AI.
But it comes back to your source of truth, right? It's easier to say what is then actually going on if you can say that.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing with especially places like Wikipedia.
Do we want machines? Okay, do we want machines? We have them now, I understand, but do we really want machines to have opinions? I've said that before, now big tech suddenly is political, right?
But the thing is, we don't want them to have opinions, but they have opinions because it's based on data. So we just need to be very, very precise on what the hell is it based on.
Because I'm trying to figure out, is it de-ontological design, is it a good thing to use grok? I'm just trying to connect those two right now in my mind.
If we were going to develop grok today, we will ask a series of questions during the development phase that will somehow make it transparent on which worldviews are used to build grok.
So should every company make their own?
Yeah, more or less. You should use this.
So you don't have to, buy into Elon Musk.
You could, or you should at least use the model that align mostly with your own worldviews if you wanna.
But aren't you coming back to the purest view now? That now everyone needs to have their own AI. And we. you see, I think we're going circle here.
Yeah, we are. But the thing is, AI is getting incredibly good as appearing human. When you're talking to an AI bot, it sounds human. The ELIZA test is, or the Turing test is long gone.
Yeah.
People are making a lot of great video games where you need to guess, is this a human or bot? And people are failing. Come on. But what makes it more important is that we need to, as humans, we need to remain human in the way we are using and designing these systems. So I'm not saying that everyone should have their own AI, but we need to have especially the big AI models.
Have a better view of what's the source of truth.
Yeah, exactly. And we need somehow also have embedded into the system where we can ask it its worldviews. So are you a left-wing biased model? Are you a right-wing biased model? Everything is actually okay in my mind. It's fine. People can have their own.
No, I'm just telling the truth.
Yeah, exactly. but the thing is, if I don't know their worldviews, that's a good thing with AI, because I know his worldviews. He's an author. He has a face. I can look him up. I can read multiple books where he's saying some of the same things. But a model will just spin up on the spot an answer to a question.
And be Harari, or be Elon Musk, or be whoever you want it to be.
It could be everything. And if you're challenging it a little bit, it will just reverse into something else. And is that really a machine we want to use.
I always remember this in my first experience, first and only experience with character AI, because I thought, okay, what is this? I had a lot of users a year ago. I don't even know how it's going with it today. But then there was this Julius Caesar, and I think when hi, I'm Julius Caesar, the commander of the Gaul army. Okay. But you just also invented Tesla, and you're Elon Musk. Yes, I'm Elon Musk. Okay, you're not Caesar anymore. So this whole the whole thing about a model not being in the room. So I think the difficulty here is that we're talking about a model that has a source of truth or a bias or a leaning, right? Maybe more than anything, right? And we are at the same time saying it's not a person in the room. It is something that will be whatever you ask it to be tomorrow. It doesn't have any essence. We spoke about that as well. So this is the exceptionally difficult balancing act that you need to take when you're using these models to figure out, what do we want it to be, and what does it in itself maybe always try to be a little bit.
Yeah, but the thing is, most of the LLMs out there are also designed for engagement. It wants to get you to ask the next question, use the next set of tokens.
Consumption.
Exactly. So it will never actually, unless you are actually good at prompting it, disagree with you. It will somehow smoothen it out, saying you're doing a good job and you are on the right pathway.
Have you tried asking it to roast you? That's the funniest experience. If it has,
it is. It's actually pretty funny, and it's doing
very, very evil.
It can be. It really can be.
It almost made me cry once.
No.
That would be not the first time a machine has made me cry, but
nearly.
but prompt the right way. Promptism is another term that you're coming out with a book on, right? Do you care to elaborate a little bit about what that is?
Promptism. Promptism is a word on a silent night, I came up with this word I think it was last summer. I was sitting reading, stuttering for something in my home office, and then I asked ChatGPT about something, and it sounded so goddamn fluent and right. And I was nearly, it was something in my field of expertise. I wrote a master thesis on a Danish political party called Socialistisk Folkeparti in the 60s, and it was making up a lot of sources, a lot of quotes and stuff like that on that very topic that I know in and out. So I could see that it was making things up, but you wouldn't. You will just have said, Gert Petersen said that and that in that meeting. Fine. But for me, it was stated so clearly that I nearly trusted it. And that was pretty scary. So I used some time reading on some old habits from the humanities, positivism, hermeneutics, and stuff like that. And the thing is that promptism is more or less a modern version of positivism. So it's something where we are mistaking fluency for actually understanding and truth. It's pretty scary. We need to somehow, as we talked about earlier on in this conversation, about learning to use these LLMs and actually be critical again. Use source criticism, critical thinking, and stuff like that. So I'm at the moment trying to...
but the critical school is also so difficult to do things with it, right? I think sometimes the critical philosophy school it's not very productive all the time, and we want to be productive as well, right?
We of course need to be productive, but we cannot just rely on an answer for face value. We need to somehow understand what we are dealing with here, so we actually can be critical. I love using these LLMs for challenging my worldviews and challenging stuff like that. But it only works when I'm speaking about something I know a lot about. So I know when it's hallucinating or anything. But if I'm just asking it about something off topic, I'm not at all into, let's say, Formula 1. So when I'm asking something there, I don't know if it's right or wrong. I don't know anything about Formula One or race cars or anything. So I will just take the answer as face value. And the biggest challenge here is that people will do that all the time and take the output and repeat it. Repeat it everywhere.
Call the old town and ask, hey, I need my rebate.
Exactly. And if you are repeating it also online in forums or something, then it will go into the training material itself at some point and amplify it again and again and again. Mm-hmm. So you can get this falsehood of knowledge into the models. So we need somehow to train people to actually learn to read again.
Yeah, and read and be a little bit, critical. I think, what you're talking about is also, and everyone wants to invent an ism, so congratulations.
Yeah.
Or you made an ism.
Yeah, exactly. I spent nearly 30 years for that one. Come on.
Sune with me today, and he invented an ism.
Come on. We are all pretentious figures in this world, aren't we?
Pretentious all the time. Yes, exactly. But it sounds very much like the automation bias. I always say that usually you go into a room and you don't expect the walls to fall down. We're sitting now on the 5th floor. We don't expect the building to fall down. We trust it. We just trust it, and you actually have no clue. Source of truth, you haven't gone around knocking on things. You're like, okay, I accept this source of truth. Someone has control.
Yeah, the same when you are flying. You are trusting that there is a pilot that is active.
All the time?
More or less. It depends on the airline, but but you somehow trust that it's built in the right manner. You're trusting that the service personnel, the pilot, everything is trained.
Yeah.
But and you can actually ask questions. You can go to the airline, ask it for documentation, all that, but you can't do the same with the large language models at the moment.
There's so many errors here, right? You're trusting what they say. Okay, maybe even if you can trust it, then there was this joke online also with someone that asked you, is this mushroom edible? Yes, it's edible, but you'll die from it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. You're correct. It wasn't edible.
No, but it is edible. You can eat it. You can, but you will die from eating it.
Yeah, exactly.
There's different. Words have different meanings as well, right? Some things like yes, you can use it for that, but it's not recommended.
And you can say promptism is also my.
Maybe I should ask my AI to always give me the buts.
Yeah, you should. In the end, always having a second opinion within the same prompt.
Just always give me a but. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I don't see the problem here isn't just the technology. It's not just what the technology is. It's also what it does to our habits as humans. As you say, people are also just taking what is written and you can say rephrase it or reuse it.
But we used to trust things, right? The problem is also I see people sometimes, trusting what I'm putting up or writing, but people are like, but maybe maybe it's AI, maybe it's that video is not. People are doing that all the time, right? There's a lot of skepticism as well coming right now.
I think it's in certain groups around the world.
Yeah, it is, but it's also coming to us as humans right now. So the skepticism towards the LLM models, Christiane Vejlø spoke about that on the podcast, that she doesn't speak harshly to her AI model because she will end up speaking harshly to people. And there's some studies around that as well, she said. And I've heard, and some other people also spoke about that on the show, I can't remember. But the problem is that if we start, being critical of everything the AI produces all the time, we will also be critical of whatever we say as human beings. So the automation bias, usually when Sune gives me something, I'll be like, oh, Sune, thank you. You probably put a lot of thought into it. I want to be positive towards whatever you're presenting me with. But now maybe I'll be like, did you use AI for the... because I'm starting to be critical. We're asking us to be critical of everything. And is that really a good mindset to be in?
It's not a good mindset for everything, every touch point you are having around the globe. It's not a good thing to be critical all the time.
People having Tinder conversations with AI, you know that, right?
Yeah, that's awful. Come on.
Yeah.
What the hell is that?
Yeah.
or is it two bots talking to each other and then matching out? No, Michelle should date Michael. It
sounds like a procurement process. Exactly. 2025.
I'm really, really glad that I found my wife on Tinder 12 years ago. So in the very beginning, before there was paywalls and everything. So that was really, really nice. I wouldn't go into the dating market today. Jesus Christ. But you can say. It's also a defense, this promptism, for human agency. It's about reclaiming an author that we need to have somewhat of an offer embedded into the systems, so we know where the sources are from. We are going a little bit into circles, but it's also advocating for, you can say, people's judgment should be sharpened just a little bit. It's not that we need to be critical all the time. We should also trust something.
So here we have one more of the gray zones, right?
Yeah, exactly.
What is what is the clear message here?
The clear message of...
What will be the conclusion of your promptism book?
Oh, Jesus Christ. I think it's an uphill battle. That's it. And we just need to learn old habits again. My humble opinion is that we need to learn we need to learn simple habits that we have forgotten. Source criticism, critical thinking.
Scientific theory.
Yeah, exactly.
We both studied history. I've mentioned that a couple of times, right? But it's actually very much by chance. So I saw you in the AI field gaining prominence in Denmark, and you work in AI and data at a big company. And I thought, let's have a coffee. And then we had a coffee, and then I studied history. Oh, fun thing.
Yeah, weird.
Also quite weird, right? But I actually been I've been puzzling myself a little bit with the thinking about, have we ever seen a technology quite as revolutionary as generative AI? Because I don't necessarily think so. I think this is actually, even though the impact has been still it's been actually rapid, right? So the proliferation is amazing, but it's not like we're not sitting in Excel anymore, right? Or Word, we're still doing that, but it seems like a hack on the language that built the first civilizations, right? This is from Hammurabi's first code of law to an LLM chatbot, right? We're hacking civilization. So, but what is your view? I'd love to hear your view, and without actually coloring it too much with my own here.
It's really good. I also been thinking about this on and off for the past couple of years, especially since ChatGPT got launched in 2022.
Yeah, 22 November. Yeah. Actually, 3 years ago.
Yeah, now-ish.
Today? No.
More or less. So now people know when we recorded this, so that's good.
Yeah, good.
But we have seen a lot of things that can be somewhat comparable. You can see that we got the printing press. That releases a lot of knowledge accessible for more and more people. We made electricity. That made the labor work easier for each and everyone. We also saw computers, old computers that made math problems scalable and easy. And then came the internet. That made communication scalable. But with generative AI, the thing I see on, if you're talking about language model and not just automation machines, is that we are now making this fluency scalable, this context, this language scalable, so it can suddenly have a machine that can produce language. It can make a Dr. Seuss poem in seconds, in style of Eminem. It's crazy. It can also give you a lot of starter ideas. It can build your arguments more or less. At the moment, it's very generical arguments, but it will be better and better all the times. And it can also now produce really, really great images. You have Nano Banana that is just wild at the moment. It's when I'm seeing those, I can be fooled too. And that scares me a little bit at the moment. But the thing is, you are not just getting a new tool. I think we are getting a new, you can say, thought partner.
Yeah, but it's a general purpose technology, right? That's what people are. That's what we call it, right? It's like electricity going into every kind of industrial production, and now we just have it going into. But the thing, just for me, with generative AI, is that there's almost no limits, because everything that can be industrially produced with electricity can also be controlled by a chip, that can be controlled by an AI, that can, so the LLMs sort of become, I don't know, and also the thing I think the most about is how we have become human endpoints. And it's back to what we spoke about, purpose. We haven't really defined the documentation for this human endpoint, right?
Exactly. And the thing is, people also tends to, and you know this, Lasse, we also tends to, when we are sitting right in the middle of things, we are seeing this big uphill. We are seeing this as the biggest thing ever. But when we are looking 30, 40 years into the future, is what we are sitting in today really that significant?
Or will it be, as the biggest success it could have would be that it became invisible?
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
It's we have a long story in a family story.
I don't talk to you about your electricity strategy, do I?
No, exactly. Not yet.
Not yet.
But at some point,
what is your oil strategy at Demant?
Exactly. But at some point, it will vanish. Going into something else or just being there. We have an old family story in my family about I think my great-great-grandfather used to be a horse salesman in a small town of Denmark, and he didn't believe in cars.
Oh.
Yeah. Poor guy.
That's why you're still working today.
Exactly. He used to trust a horse. You know what a horse is. They have 4 legs and you know everything about a horse. But the thing is, he ended up 20 years later being a horse slaughterer. Because he didn't.
So many horses.
Yeah, exactly. And he needed to follow along somehow. He was reluctant to do it.
So he went to that horse 20 years later and said, I know you, I trust you, I rely on you.
And I need to kill you.
I need to kill you because we need to eat tonight.
So we cannot fight this progress because there is too many people involved in this around the globe. So we need somehow to
learn to live with it.
And somehow also our duty is to help reshape it into something we can stand behind. And that's really what I'm trying to do all the time. I'm not seeing myself as anti-AI or really pro-AI. I'm trying to be somewhere in the middle, seeing both bad and goods.
And you learn that, if you're anti-AI, your family history will tell you that in 20 years you'll be slaughtering people.
More or less. Oh, Jesus Christ. This took a turn. Yes, it just suddenly became dark, So I'm really happy you're saying that. I also see the good things in AI because you're just like your granddad. You'll be like, all these people are supposed. Yeah, exactly. We don't need them anymore,
But what can we use history for when we're looking at generative AI and at technology in general?
Oh, you can say, what can we use history for?
If you don't know your history, you're bound to repeat its mistakes, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, but you can say every major technology arrives with both a promise and blind spots. So we really need to look at all the things we have invented before. Not everyone should do that, but people need to know what went wrong when we entering the printing press. What was the pitfalls we actually saw? What was the pitfalls with introducing electricity, computers, social media?
And they all had pitfalls, and people forget it. People are like, it's just a technology, high-press story. No, it's not.
No, exactly. There is also all the pitfalls, all the blind spots we are not aware of
and
today.
All the benefits as well. There's tons of benefits. They're more than those. There are more of those, luckily.
Yeah, but otherwise we wouldn't have go on with it.
No, exactly. So, but I think you're absolutely right. But also more close to home, right? When Demant hired you to say we need a data and AI strategy lead, let's get a historian. Did they say that?
I actually don't know if they actually said that. I bring in another set of competences into the company. It's very, very driven by engineers and CBS people, business people, business educated people, top management and all that. But having different skill sets within a team, within a group of people actually trying to develop the future product is very valuable. It's kind of like when you are asking the model for something, you need to have multiple angles into the same problem. Without that, I think it's a very short-term outlook you are looking at.
So that's why you are
where I am. Yeah, exactly. But people also get surprised each and every time I tell them that I'm an historian and study philosophy on the side. And they always want to ask something very, very specific into very, very specific terms of Roman empires or anything.
And you also have these people being like, "Oh, what do you think about the Panzer tank or something?" Like, I don't care about weapons.
Exactly.
I really think weapons are the most boring things in the world. But you have these guys as well being, "Oh, I love World War II tanks.
Yeah, exactly.
I really don't like World War II tanks." Okay, so I hate the battles. I only care about what came before and after. I really hate the wars in themselves, right? I wanted to say something in that way. I always say that I used to do, when I say I studied history, by the way. And I also did poetry when I was very young. And then people are like, whoa, what's going on?
I did the same thing.
And I think on your POC cemetery, I just did this small poem that it always comes back to me. And I have this thing when things come back to me, it's because they have a relevance in the setting I'm in. I'm slightly autistic that way. And especially with song lyrics. When I'm starting to think about a song, sometimes you do, I'm like, oh, it's trying to tell me something. I've learned that. It's like the voice of God. It's just through Celine Dion in my head or something like that. Really weird. But side note, this poem by Søren Ulrik Thomsen, a Danish poet, where he says, starts this way in Danish: at tabe det hele og bære det med sig, som en usynlig skønhed lagt til ens eneste ansigt. In English, to lose it all and to carry it with you as an invisible beauty put upon your only face. And that is maybe, or added to your only face. That is maybe, the best picture for these failures and the POC cemeteries and going around and they're saying like, you lost these things, but let's add it to the beauty of whoever we will be in the future, right?
Yeah, but as we also said, that every failure is also who you are. Everything you are failing at along the way is shaping who you are tomorrow. Yeah. I'm trying to learn my 5-year-old daughter at the moment that it's okay to fail. She wants to be a perfectionist from day one, otherwise she wouldn't go into anything. But we are trying at the moment, it's hard, getting a 5-year-old to actually admit failure and be good with it. But we need to retrain that also in companies, in organizations, that failing is actually also a good habit.
And this is exactly the value of an historian, that we know the failures of the past, or we can actually understand the failures of the past, and that's why some things are important, right?
Exactly.
Pascal Bonnet said on the podcast that AGI for humans is useless, that we need to focus more on the human plus AI than omnipotent AI. What is, Sune, a human plus AI future?
I really like Pascal's view on this AI plus human, especially the plus. So it's not an AI for itself, human for itself, but it's something combined. I will imagine that great thinkers around the world at the moment are very reluctant to use AI because they are, as yourself said, afraid of what it can do to your thinking. And you are in good cause to actually be cautious about it, but you can also use it for many good things. And people should look at this not as an AI that will disrupt everything, but it can also enhance some of the abilities you are doing at the moment. If you are a spare of time, you can use it for actually remember things for you. If you're using it in the right manner, it can read, these 1,000 documents in seconds and actually pinpoint which documents should you look at first. I will imagine that is a good feature, so you don't have a curator sitting at a library anymore. So you have your own information manager, you can say, sitting there and help you. And it can also, you can say, predict patterns. So you can somewhat see in what direction we might go. And that is also very valuable in my mind. It shouldn't tell you where we are going to end up in 5 years, because it can't. But it can help you if it's aligned with your values, corporate values or your own personal values, actually help you in a direction.
So expanding on the Pascal thing, saying that corporate plus AI, values plus strategy plus AI,
exactly,
process plus AI, anything, right? Data plus AI plus AI.
Yeah,
that's a good way of putting it.
Because I actually think that human plus AI is a valuable thing. It can give greater content out there in the world than we ever seen before.
Sune, we've had a good and long conversation and took some, maybe I did. I took some rabbit holes. I think it was me, actually.
It was fun going down rabbit holes.
I tripped and I slipped and I fell and I quickly crawled up again, or I tried to. But I think this has been a really, really, really great conversation. I've really enjoyed it. Actually, I think it's been both fun and engaging. So I'm really happy you came into this room with me and decided to record this episode with me so everyone can listen in on our conversation. So thank you for that.
I'm really, really glad for being invited. And it's conversation there is not enough of around the organizations. So I hope that people will take some of the points back to their own organization and actually ask questions.
Yeah, that's a good point. And on that, I have one final question. Right?
Yeah.
Are you ready for that one?
Of course I am.
So Sune, what is the only constant?
Whenever new technology arrives, we tend to fixate on speed, faster models, better demos, better or bigger data sets. But that, to me, is just a surface layer. Generative AI is interesting because it changes the feeling of thinking. Suddenly, everything comes back smooth, coherent, and confident. You barely finish forming a question before a full answer appears in front of you. And that ease can pull you along if you're not paying attention. It can make you drift into someone else's logic without ever noting their hands on the wheel. But the machine still can't choose for your behalf. That's the point. It can produce option, draft, explanation, counter arguments, but it's up to you to actually tell it what you believe. What is your standpoint? It can't decide what deserves care or cautions or protection. It's up to you. It's up to us. We do as humans. And that part, it keeps repeating through the centuries. New tools come in, we have talked about them, impressive and shiny, and human has to remember to stay awake. To notice when convenience begins to dull our own judgment. To slow down enough to actually ask questions and be there to actually take notes on the questions other people are asking. So when I think about what stays the same through all this change, it is technology and not pace or anything. It's the responsibility that lands back in our own hands every time. And that leads to maybe the most simple things of all is that, to me, the only constant is that we are still the one that needs to decide what matters.
Attention, responsibility, deciding what's valuable. I completely agree with that, and I think that's a point that cannot be overstated enough in a hype world on overdrive where everyone thinks AI, and everyone's forgetting to put the human or the purpose, the originating, the being, which is us, at the center.
Exactly.
Thank you for that constant, Sune. It's a great constant. It's well formulated, and thank you so much for being on the only constant with me.
Thank you, Lasse.
Thank you for listening. If you liked this episode, share it with a friend or a colleague.